What's up, guys? So today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about a 12-year-old camera that I just received, and that is the Canon G10. So I know you're probably wondering, why am I making a video about a camera that's over 12 years old? And the reason why is because recently my family home sold, and in that process we had to get rid of a lot of stuff that had accumulated in the house. A lot of stuff we gave away, some stuff we sold, and some stuff was just given to family members. So in that process my mom went through all the cameras that she had acquired over the years. I have a few of them that I'm going to make videos about, and this is the first one that I'm going to make a video about, the Canon G10. She bought a lot of different point and shoots over the years, from Olympus stylus zoom film point and shoots all the way up to the Canon PowerShot series. So that's why I am making a video about 12-year-old cameras, because I got this one for free and I figured the only videos I've seen on this camera are like 8 to 12 years old, so it might be time to do an updated video and just show the images and my favorite things about the camera. So I'm gonna start out with a basic history of the Canon PowerShot G series cameras. Now, I'm not a Canon camera master. There's a ton of different lines of cameras that they've produced over the years, and they've been making cameras for almost 100 years, so there's a lot of different cameras to cover, but this is the one that I was gifted. So the PowerShot G series cameras started in 2000 with the G1, and they went all the way up until now. They're still making Canon PowerShot G series cameras. One of the most popular ones that you might see nowadays is the G7X, and it is a really good everyday vlog camera. A lot of vloggers use it. Fits in your pocket really well, but the image quality is really good. I think they're on the third generation of the G7X, but this is an earlier Canon PowerShot G model from 2007 called the Canon G10, and the PowerShot G series in general was made by Canon as kind of an in-between camera between a really low quality pocketable small sensor point and shoot camera and then your full-on professional DSLR camera. So it was aimed at professional photographers that wanted another camera to use, to travel with, to walk around with, that wasn't their full DSLR kit. And that's where the Canon PowerShot G series came in. So the Canon PowerShot G10 released in 2008, so it's about halfway, or a little bit less than halfway through the entire life of the product itself. So it's not the latest and greatest newest one, but it's not the first one ever made in the year 2000. So it's a nice in-between, and I honestly really like this camera. It was really ahead of its time when it came out. It had a lot of features that mirrorless camera companies nowadays are introducing into their cameras. For instance, it has a dedicated exposure compensation dial. It also has a dedicated ISO dial as well, and then the classic Canon mode dial on top with 2 different custom slots as well, so you can program the camera settings and then save them into these custom slots. It also ironically has this ring on the front of it that you can press this button on the front of the camera and rotate it to take it off, and I was wondering, why does this little plastic piece come off the camera? And so I researched it, and there's actually a Canon made attachment for the lens on this camera. There's a telephoto adapter, and then there's a wide angle adapter, and you basically take this kind of lens looking thing and you take the metal ring off the camera and screw on that adapter, and then you turn on the camera, and when you turn on the camera, the lens itself will actually extend. So the lens adapter has negative space in it, so that once the lens extends, it has space to open up inside, but there's also optics on the front of it to adapt it to more of a telephoto look or a super wide angle. I wasn't able to get my hands on these. They're only sold in full camera kits on eBay that I found so far. So if anybody knows anyone that has those little adapters for the Canon G cameras, then I would love to get them in and just try them and see how they look and see how they, you know, change the image quality and stuff like that. Another unique feature about this camera versus other point and shoot cameras made by Canon at the time is it actually has a hot shoe on the top, so you can use a wireless trigger or you can use an actual, you know, speed light on top of the camera and get really nice flash photos. So it really has a lot of pro features inside of it that weren't in point and shoot cameras or smaller cameras at the time. Nowadays you can find a lot of different cameras with pro features that are really tiny and small and really easy to bring around and things like that. But at the time, this was not something that a lot of other companies were doing, so that's why I say it's kind of ahead of its time. Another feature that it has that I really enjoy is it has a positive film simulation inside of the camera. So all of Canon's point and shoot cameras, most of them anyways, have different like filters preset into them, so you can go through and, you know, give it a sepia black and white look or a regular black and white look, or they have, you know, more vivid saturated filters as well as filters for taking photos in aquariums and things like that. And they're basically just built-in presets that change the colors in the JPEGs to, you know, compensate for the blue light inside of an aquarium or to give it a certain, you know, black and white or sepia type look. So I've been using the camera with the positive film preset. I've also been using it a little bit with the black and white preset, and I really like the positive film preset. The sensor itself is also a CCD sensor instead of a CMOS sensor, so all the cameras that you see nowadays are CMOS sensors, and I think it changed in the early 2000s or late 2010s, somewhere in that range. But a lot of people online that have used CCD sensors say that they have a much more film-like rendering when it comes to the color and the contrast and the sharpness, versus a CMOS sensor has a little bit more of a digital look. Now, I've seen images from both CCD sensors and CMOS sensors, and I can't really tell the difference a lot of the time. Sometimes I can tell the difference, but in this camera with the positive film preset as well as the CCD sensor, I really think the photos do look like film, or like a Kodak Gold or a Kodak Ultramax, kind of like a point and shoot film stock, and I really like the look of it. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to compete with Fuji's built-in film simulations in their newer cameras, but it's a little quirky feature that I think makes the camera a little bit more nostalgic feeling and gives it a look that it deserves, because I mean, right now they're online for like 80 or 100 bucks. So it really is just like a little point and shoot camera that you can bring around and take, you know, pictures at parties or take pictures, events, or, you know, just walking around with your family. I think that having that positive film preset really makes the camera look like a 90s film point and shoot a little bit, not completely, and that's really how I want to use this camera in the future. So I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have gotten one for free, but if you look online, like I said, they're only like 80 or 100 bucks, which is not too bad. And once you buy it, I mean, you can just bring it around everywhere with you. It does fit in a jacket pocket. I don't know if it'll fit in the jeans pocket. I'm a smaller guy, so it doesn't fit in my jeans pocket. But with that 14 megapixel sensor and the CCD sensor, I think it's the best balance between getting kind of a modern image quality and getting, you know, a point and shoot camera that was made in the early 2000s that is not going to look great at all right now, and it's not going to be enough megapixels to really hold its own online today. But I think that the Canon PowerShot G10 is like the perfect balance between the two, and I highly recommend getting one. I've really been liking using this camera. It also has a ridiculous zoom lens on it, so a full frame equivalent would be 28 millimeters to 140 millimeters, and so you can really zoom in on random things when you're walking around. And having a 5x optical zoom, when I've been using the Leica Q for 99% of the time for the past 5 years, which is only 28 millimeters. It's really amazing having that much zoom, and I've been kind of playing around with it and getting some photos at 140 millimeters just for, you know, the hell of it, and just trying to see if I can come up with anything that looks cool or looks different, because not a lot of people are walking around with 140 millimeter lens when you're walking around the city. So I've been trying to get some city shots really zoomed in, and I've been liking a few of them for sure. Other photos kind of make that compression look kind of weird, so it's definitely something to use with a little bit of discretion, but I've been having a lot of fun playing around with it for sure. The last feature that I really like about the Canon PowerShot G10 is actually a very simple feature, and it's just the flash that's on the front of it. Like I said earlier, it has a hot shoe, so if you wanted to add a better flash to it, you definitely could, but the flash that's on the camera is actually really powerful and really wide, so I haven't really felt the need to use an external flash at all. But I really like flash photos of, you know, my family members or my friends or different things that I come across, because it really gives that disposable point and shoot kind of look, which I think honestly works really well in certain situations. Obviously, you know, you'd want to professionally light every single photo that you could, unless it was like a landscape or out in nature. But realistically, you're not going to be able to light a lot of the photos that you take, especially if you do street photography, or if you are just in the moment and you want to capture a birthday party or, you know, an event, or, you know, in a club or something like that, and you don't want to bring around a camera that's super obvious or super expensive, then point and shoot cameras are like the perfect camera to bring around and just take photos of random stuff and not really worry about the quality or the lighting or the depth of field or anything like that, and more worry about just capturing the moment and giving it that kind of nostalgic 90s or early 2000s like point and shoot look. So I've really been liking using this camera. If you guys don't have a little point and shoot camera that you can just bring around everywhere with you, I highly recommend it. It is definitely awesome. It brings back so many memories from when you were just a kid and your mom would give you a camera to use for, you know, 20 minutes at your birthday party, or you'd be traveling and you'd get like a little disposable point and shoot. So it's definitely something that I would recommend. I've been having a ton of fun with it, and you know, if you look online, there's a ton of different Canon PowerShot cameras that you can get, or different Sony point and shoots or Olympus point and shoots as well, that are extremely cheap nowadays. A lot of people don't think to get an old digital camera. They usually get a new digital camera, or they get a newer digital camera, or they get a super old film camera. But I think that there's a lot of in-between cameras that have dropped in price because they're, you know, old tech, that really deserve us using them, and using them more for personal work versus professional work. But I think there's definitely benefits to those cameras. So I hope you guys liked today's video. I know it was a little bit different than what I usually make, but I've been using this camera a bunch, and I was trying to think of different ideas for videos, and I realized, why don't I make videos about the cameras that I already have that I haven't shown you guys? So this is one of those cameras. There's going to be a couple more cameras that I'm going to cover over the next couple weeks or few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But as always, thanks for watching today's video. If you want to follow either one of my Instagram accounts, they're linked down below. And other than that, I hope you guys are having a good one. Peace.